earlier today. He said Boxing Billy came up to see him and visit him and said, as you look at Butch there in the ring, that the fact of that Boxing Billy said, I want to thank you for giving me a win. So he's very confident. Let's go to Ed Darian, our ring announcer.
Ladies and gentlemen, before I introduce the principals for this evening's second bout, I would like to direct your attention to the red corner, a young man working that corner, former heavyweight contender of the world, Marvis Frazier. Marvis Frazier. Ladies and gentlemen, this next bout is scheduled for 4 rounds, and it's in a welterweight division. The referee is Joe O'Neill. Introducing first in the blue corner, wearing the multicolored trunks, he tipped in at an even 154 pounds. This young man hails from West Philadelphia. Ladies and gentlemen, here is Boxing Billy Mastrangelo. Mastrangelo. And his opponent in the red corner, wearing the black trunks with the white trim. He weighed in at an even 148 pounds. This young man, he too hails from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Ladies and gentlemen, here he is, Smokin' Joe Frazier Jr. Frazier.
Smokin' Joe Frazier Jr. last fought March 13th and came away with a win.
You're in charge of your corner, you're in charge of yours. Shake hands and come out boxing. Shake hands. All right.
Joe O'Neill.
Taking charge
yes,
early.
Indeed. And of course, Smokin' Joe Frazier Jr. being handled in the corner by Marvis Frazier, another boxing lineup in the Frazier family. And I'll tell you, they all look like their dad when they go into the ring, don't they?
Absolutely, and especially little Smokin' Joe. We used to call him the G-Man. He comes to fight. As you'll see, he's got a style very similar to the one that his father took on to fame. He's in a very interesting fight here, though, because he's fighting at a weight limit well above where he campaigned early in his career. And he's in with a guy who, while not a very polished boxer necessarily, is a very fine puncher.
And both of them are slugging it out early here in the first round. The age difference about 10 years. Boxing Billy just 19 years of age, and at the age of 19 has already had 6 professional fights, 2 by way of knockout.
And as is already obvious by now, what anybody named Frazier wants to do when he's in there is to take up the room between himself and his target. He wants to shorten up the arms of Billy Mastrangelo and to be inside him. But he's not been too successful at that tack right now.
Boxing Billy
Charlie,
getting into body shots.
I saw Boxing Billy, in fact, no more than about 2 months or so ago, fighting in Philadelphia. Came away with a big, big win. He has a lot of fan support also out of Philly, coming in and cheering him on and getting him ready to go. And he's a nice little fighter. Short hooks up underneath, comes back with the double hook. There's a double hook right there as I speak, quadruple hook. He has a battery of punches, but I think that there's a big left hook of Smokin' Joe.
Sure did come through with one, didn't he?
It'll be the Smokin' Joe Frazier Jr. pressure, just like Joe.
Of course, the reputation puts a lot of pressure on Smokin' Joe Frazier Jr.
Yeah, but he's been equal in to that reputation in the early part of his career. He hasn't always won, but he's always come to fight. And he's really going to need to fight in this instance. Billy has really been very effective. His hands are much faster than you might expect for a guy who has so much to uncoil.
This is a scheduled 4-round welterweight bout. And of course, when you talk about some named welterweights, you speak of guys like Simon Brown and Buddy McGirt, Glenwood Brown, Mo Blocker, Meldrick Taylor. Some great names in that welterweight division. Always has been. The Tommy Hearns of the past and Sugar Ray Leonards.
Many of whom we've seen right here on BET Boxing tonight.
Billy lands quite a good right hook on the side of the head of Frazier, who staggers a little bit.
And he's going to come in with that right hand on a number of occasions. One thing that we find a little bit absent from Joe Frazier's attack this time is head movement. He comes in, but his head is not moving the way it used to when he was fighting on a more regular basis. He's going to have to get that head movement back, or he's going to be a standing target.
As we come to the end of round number 1, and what has been a good round number 1 between these two welterweights, scheduled for 4. Frazier against Mastrangelo. We'll be back. Of course, Marvis Frazier in the corner talking to his brother.
Another guy you want to take a look at in that corner is Val Colbert, the gentleman with the water bottle in his hand. He was right there through all of Joe Frazier's battles. Thriller Manila, Holly Frazier, 1, 2, 3. All the great fights.
That's Smiley Hayward, the guy leaning in from the other side, is a well-known Philadelphia trainer who's been in some great corners over the years.
You know, I talked to Joe Frazier Jr. earlier today, and you know, we talked about some of his personal problems he had, and which caused him that long layoff from the boxing game. And he said, well, he has finally realized there are no shortcuts in boxing. He has been hard-headed in the past, but he has changed his ways, and he knows that he's got to be serious about what he does from now on.
Well, I'm a believer in redemption. I don't know whether or not Billy Mastrangelo is ready to be the one he's going to be redeemed over, but I believe that he's a fighter who can come back. He has a fighting spirit. Everything about him and his genes tell me that he's a man that can come back if anybody can. Interestingly enough, Charlie, during the period when he was away from boxing, in part because of personal problems, his brother Marvis stayed right with him in a show of loyalty that you might take for granted from brothers, but it's not anything you should take for granted. He really stayed there with his brother all the way through. Came back with him.
Smoking Joe's starting to heat up here, digging with the patented left hook downstairs. But one thing I don't like that I see here is that when Smoking Joe comes forward, he's pawing with that left jab rather than popping and snapping it out there. Walking forward, pawing with it. He needs to snap the head back of Mastrangelo and try to get some respect with that left hand.
We have to say that Mastrangelo is a rather remarkable fighter, given that he had a very short amateur career. And it seems to me has developed skills that would belie his inexperience.
As I said earlier, it's, you know, he's only 19 and he's already had 6 professional fights, and that's quite a bit in itself. He's knocked out 2 of his opponents. Charlie Neal along with Leland Hardy, Elmer Smith. We're ringside at the Imperial Ballroom at Trump Plaza's Hotel and Casino in Atlantic City.
Charlie, I'm not so sure that Mastrangelo isn't starting to feel the brunt of that pressure from Frazier. I saw him walk back on his heels a little bit. He's not initiating the exchanges as he was earlier in the fight. And that relentless pressure from Frazier may finally beginning to take a small toll on Mastrangelo. There's the double hook.
Especially the shot to the solar plexus that opened that combination. I think you make a good point, Leland. Also, we noticed that Mastrangelo's mouth is wide open. It has been open through much of the fight, but I'm wondering now if he's not beginning to gasp for air just a little bit.
Mastrangelo's got a nice, I'll call it a pseudo bolo punch. You'll see him wind up and try to shoot the uppercut. Not a lot of meat on it, but it's annoying Frazier.
One of the things that Frazier feels as his strength is that he has power in both hands, left and the right, that he can hurt his opponent with either one. As we come to the final seconds of round number 2 here, Frazier in the black trunks against Mastrangelo in the red and white. And we'll be back with round number 3.
I think what they've got to be telling Mastrangelo at this point is got to use the jab, keep this kid away from him.
Now let's listen over to the red corner, Frazier. Who'd you like in round 2? Frazier?
I thought round 2 was a comeback round for Little Smoking Joe. It was a close but clear edge, I
thought he got the hook working in that round.
This is round number 3, scheduled for 4. Frazier in the black trunks, Mastrangelo, Boxing Billy from West Philly in the red-white trunks.
Now, he started to go down in the last round, Frazier, and I think that the downstairs work, even though it's a short fight, could pay dividends for him because Mastrangelo is not a fighter who has had to go any longer than 4 rounds so far in his career.
That's a good point you make, Elmer, that it's a short fight. In a 4-round fight, you have only a short time to impress the judges, and it's going to be a lot of punches thrown. You're talking about a lot of activity and being very busy. If you can sustain that flow over the entire 4, it certainly works out in your best interest instead of trying to land big bombs in a short fight like this.
That's right.
And of course, Mastrangelo trying to tie up the arms of Frazier because Frazier is doing a yeoman job in close.
That's right. Even though he's not landing a whole lot, he wins points here because he has initiated the action. He had his opponent's back to the ropes, and because Mastrangelo is tying him up, attempting to tie him up.
This is round 3, scheduled for 4.
See a lot of clashing of heads in there. We hope nobody comes in and opens up a cut. They're both coming in head first.
Frazier's only been knocked out once, and that was on a TKO. Victor Paziano is the man who did that.
He landed a real good right hand to the ribs early in that exchange that I think took a little bit out of Billy Mastrangelo.
I think he broke his hand, or he hurt his hand. Mastrangelo looked over in his corner and shook his right hand. His right hand may be broken or some problem with it.
He's simply being outworked right now.
That's right.
Barrage of shots. Hector punching a combination of their body is both sides banging their body with the left hook.
And that's pure speculation. We don't want to say that the man's hand is broken, but I did notice him looking into his corner and shaking his right hand and saying something to his corner. That is Mastrangelo. And since that time, he has done very little boxing. And the right hand that he has thrown has been just subtle. Nothing with any power to it. Everything is coming from the left. As we come to the end of round number 3, now Mastrangelo
good exchange
starts to go to work.
All gut work there. That's what I like there. I thought.
End of round 3. Looking back, you see, that's when he looked over to the. See him shaking that right hand?
Yes. And
looking over in his corner. That was the thing that bothered me, that indicated possibly that something was wrong. But during that break, nothing was done with the right hand as far as his corner was concerned. This is the 4th and final round. Frazier against Mastrangelo.
Leland, echo a point that you made during the break. The Fraziers are known for their fast finishes. And you can see now Hector coming on a little artlessly, as a matter of fact, and that he's lunging. But he's taking the fight to him. He understands how scoring is done in this game. And he's being the aggressor.
I think he'd be much better served if he walked in behind a stiff left jab. You see him pawing there as he walks forward. He's not going to do any damage with that. No. He could open up some opportunities if he snapped that jab.
Right now, on our card, which is unofficial, we have Frazier ahead 2 rounds to 1. The first round was clearly Boxing Billy's round, Mastrangelo. Frazier made a valiant comeback in round number 2, and then in round 3, as Mastrangelo lands a nice right to the head of Frazier, in round 3, Frazier did most of the damage. Mastrangelo did more holding on than anything else.
Good body shot. Short, crisp hooks that time.
It's the old Tyson combination. Right hand over the top, hook up underneath from Frazier. There it is again. This time to the body. Yeah.
Now, Frazier obviously senses that his man is depleted and he's starting to come on. He needs to find his openings, though. Maybe take a couple of shots to the body to find his range and then unload.
Under a minute to go in the 4th and final round. Billy tried the uppercut. It was blocked. 2 left jabs off the forehead of Frazier.
Those are really flicking jabs, Charlie. They didn't really have any bad intention written on them and didn't really do any damage.
Frazier with a left-right combination flurry. Now body shot, comes back with a left to the head. Another body shot with 2 lefts. Down a right and then an uppercut. Left by Boxing Billy, who's on his horse.
But he's on his horse, it seems to me, not being the right tack for him. I think he has lost this round.
As we come to the end of this one, scheduled for 4, it went the distance. 2 welterweights. A good battle. 2 Philadelphia young men. Boxing Billy from West Philly and Smoking Joe Frazier Jr.
And really nothing for Billy Mastrangelo to be ashamed of here. I thought he acquitted himself fairly well against a fighter who has a good deal more experience. He's in with a guy who has gone the 10-round distance several times. And this is a relatively long fight for Billy Mastrangelo. So I thought that he's done fairly well under the circumstances.
Well, let's look at the flurry. Some more of that flurry here in round number 4. That good right and left combination by Mastrangelo off of the head of Joe Frazier Jr., Smoking Joe Jr. But he wasn't able to put him away.
Well, you know, those Fraziers have temporal lobes like boilerplates, so, I mean, you had to hit him with a car.
Well, Frazier showing that he's on the comeback trail. Of course, won a month ago, and this is twice in the last month that he has fought and has done a good job.
Yeah, I would say that he's about 65% of where he has been.
Let's go to our ring announcer, Ed Darian.
Ladies and gentlemen, the scoring by points as follows. Judge Gene Williams observed the fight, 39-37 Frazier. Judge John Stewart, he scored it, 39-37 Mastrangelo. And Judge Vinny Rainoni, he watched the fight at 38-38, which means this bout is a draw.
The judges say that this one comes out to a draw. So for Frazier, his record now goes to 17-4-1. For Boxing Billy, 5-1-1. Congratulations to both of the fighters. Very valiant effort. We'll be back.